Hi, I'm Trisha at Club Scrap. Are you ready for a card making adventure? We are going to be creating a dozen Northwoods cards today with that Northwoods card kit. First, we'll start by sorting all the paper in the order we'll use it. Then we'll trim all of the papers and Cutaparts. Then we will score our card bases, and finally you'll have everything you need for those dozen cards. It's going to be a fun journey. Let's go ahead and get started. I have printed my instructions, and if you're looking for this document, you can find that right on the Club Scrap website under the Resources tab. You'll see instructions and then just look for Northwoods Card Kit. We do have a page kit as well. I'm going to set aside my envelopes. The instructions will go to my right. I do have some embellishments here. I'm going to set those aside along with the ribbon. And let's get this paper sorted out here. I'm going to hold it upright so that I can see it and sort it more easily. And I want you to find one sheet of the gray. And right away you're going to notice this is a really nice heavy duty paper. So one gray and then one brown. It's kind of a taupey brown, and then blue. That should be pretty easy to identify. One blue and then one green. We're going to start and do the same thing again. So one gray, one brown, one blue. Gets easier as we get fewer papers. One green, and then you have the two prints. So take these prints and put them face down on your work surface. Next up, in the Cutaparts, you're going to grab the one that has the little dots on the edge, put that face down, and then these are nice, big, giant sentiments, that face down. And then on the bottom, I wanted you to put the print, or the rice paper rather. This is the handmade rice paper. We're going to be trimming this as well. So I'll flip everything back over to start out with the gray and turn to page 1 of my instructions again. And I'm going to grab my Accordion Pocket File. Now, if you don't have this Accordion Pocket File, that's not a big deal. You can maintain 4 piles. You just need more horizontal space to organize them. A, B, C, D, maybe label them. This helps us use our plentiful vertical space. I do have a starter kit that helps you make one of these for yourself. So it's not too bad of a project. I have a video for it. So I'll put a link for that in the video description, but it sits right underneath your trimmer base. So I'll just slide it down there and add the Velcro dots to the back of my trimmer here, get that all lined up, and that helps support it a little bit. And we are going to begin by identifying the grain direction of this gray paper. So to find the grain, I hold the paper by the center of an edge, and then I move my hand to an adjacent edge. And this way, the paper is very stiff. If I hold it this way, it's very floppy. So I want the paper to flop most easily when I put it in the trimmer in this direction. Not this direction, but this direction. It should bend easily this way. And you can always know if the grain direction is important by an arrow that I'm going to put in the instructions that points in that same direction, so the paper bends easily this way. I'm also going to take the brown and do the same test. Oh yes, I can tell right away it bends. I want it bending this way. And I'm going to stack these papers together and trim them at the same time. Now, if you don't feel very brave quite yet and you want to trim them one at a time, that's totally okay. You just have to go back and repeat the video instructions. I'm going to make sure the paper's level at the top here and start out at 10.5 inches. So 10 plus 2 columns to the left is 10.5 inches. Firmly push on the clear bar here and slice it. Then I'm going to slide down to 6 1/4. Rotate the paper in the trimmer while I allow all of the other papers to pile up to my right. And then I'm going to cut at 9. I'll set aside this larger piece, both of them. They're going to become card bases and need to be scored. And then this little rectangle that fell here, I'm going to cut that at 6. And I'll place this in pocket B. Bravo. You did create 2 tiny little scraps. I'm going to put those in pocket D for David. And then grab the next larger strip here. This is 4 1/4 by 12 right now. And we'll cut at 9.5. Set these pieces aside to be scored and grab the little rectangle that fell. Trim at 2 1/4. This piece goes in pocket C for Charlie, and then the smaller rectangles actually go in pocket A. And then these two wide strips are scraps that can go in D, David. All right, let's repeat that again now with the blue. So I'm going to check my grain direction on this blue, make sure it bends easily that way. And then we do the same thing with the green. This is a very, very heavy paper. So grain is so important. We're going to repeat all this. So 10 1/2, 6 1/4. I'd like to stand up when I'm doing these big cuts. Rotate the 6 1/4 inch piece and trim at 9. Set these aside to be scored and pick up the rectangles that fell. I'm going to trim these at 6. Pocket B on these rectangles, and yes, you made some more tiny little scraps. I just throw those in D for now. Grab the next larger strips and we'll cut it 9 1/2. Set this aside to be scored, and then grab these rectangles. We'll cut at 2 1/4. 2 1/4. Pocket C on the larger ones and pocket A on the smaller ones. And then you have these extra strips as scraps. Continuing now with the second cutting diagram, the grain needs to be going the same direction again. So make sure it bends easily from the top of the trimmer to the bottom. We'll cut at 11 1/2 and 8 1/2. Rotate and cut at 10 and 8. Set this aside to be scored. Grab a pair of these narrow strips and cut at 8 1/4. Pocket C. Grab the other pair of really narrow strips and once again cut at 8 1/4. Pocket C, Charlie. Yes, you made 4 really teeny little scraps. You can probably pitch them or put them in pocket D. On this one, we're going to cut at 8 1/2. Set this aside to be scored, and then the rectangle that fell, pocket B, bravo, and then you have this long piece as a scrap. We're going to repeat again. You can see the efficiency of this process, that by making 12 cards at a time instead of 1 card at a time, we can probably accomplish just as much in the same amount of time. Let's cut this at 11 1/2 again, 11 1/2, and 8 1/2. Rotate and cut at 10 and 8. Set this aside to be scored. Grab the little strip and cut it at 8 1/4. Pocket C, Charlie. Got some little scraps there. And then the other strip, again at 8 1/4. Pocket C. And you have the scraps once again. They're so little. Now we have our long strip that we'll cut at 8 1/2. This gets scored. This goes in pocket B, bravo. And we have the long scraps here for D. With the print, we do not need to concern ourselves with the grain direction because we won't be folding this paper. And I'm going to have you slice at 8, rotate, cut at 10 1/2, 8 3/4, 7, 5 1/4, 3 1/2. Lots of numbers here. 1 3/4. Okay, so we made a whole series of long strips that are the same, except the one on the bottom of your stack is a little narrower. The ones that are the same go in pocket C, Charlie, and the narrow one is a scrap for pocket D. Let's take this other strip. We're going to cut at those same numbers, 10 1/2, 8 3/4, 7, 5 1/4, 3 1/2, 1 3/4. Gathering up, you're going to find a bunch of pieces that are the same, and then there's one at the bottom that's slightly narrower. So all the same go in pocket A, and the little guy D. We're moving on to page 2 of our instructions. For this print, we're going to cut at 10 1/2, 9, 7 1/4, 5 1/2, 2 3/4. Gather the 2 strips that are the same. We'll cut at 11 1/2 and 5 3/4. All 4 of these pieces are the same. Those are going to go in pocket B, bravo. And you do have 2 little scraps for D. Grab the next 2 strips. They should be the same. Stack them neatly together and cut at 8 inches. 8. These 2 longer pieces, pocket C, and the 2 shorter pieces, pocket A. Finally, we have 2 more strips that are 1 1/2 by 12. We'll stack them, cut them at the same time at 6, and place all 4 of these pieces in pocket B, bravo. With the Cutaparts, we do need to remove the paper from the outside perimeter so that we have a nice 12 by 12. And there are these little hash marks in the corners. So on that first cut, I usually cut outside of the marks, and then I finish up on my last rotation. I do that so that I can see the bottom edge of the blade where it meets the little hash mark. And on the first cut, the paper is just too large to see it. Ooh, it moved a little bit before I brought that blade down. Now you can pause the video as long as you need to in order to get this job done. Don't rush through it. Just make sure everything's looking good and your paper ends up being 12 by 12. Now when I make this last rotation is when I'm going to clean up that initial cut. And then I have my little scraps to get rid of here. I'll just put those in the garbage and make sure when I start trimming this piece that the dots are on the right. We're going to cut those off first by trimming at 11 3/4. Then 9 1/2, 7 1/4, and 4. Rotate, and we're going to make sure that that little, what would you call that? The pointy edge thing. Banner, thank you. The banner's on the right. We'll trim at 11, 8 1/4, 5 1/2, and 2 3/4. Gather up all the panels that are the same. Those go in pocket A, and then you have the little banner for B. I just use that on the inside of a card. Now let's make sure the banner is on the right for this strip, and we're going to cut at those same numbers: 11, 8 1/4, 5 1/2, 2 3/4. And if I'm going too fast, you can just adjust the playback speed to 0.75. That'll kind of slow me down. Okay, all of these that are the same, pocket B, and then you've got this banner also B. Next up, we've got Even in the Stillness. That should be on your right. We'll go at 10, 8, 6, 4, and you have all these little things that get fussy cut. You can do that later, and plus the 4 squares here, or rectangles, they all go in pocket C, Charlie. The next strip, we will cut at 10 1/4, 8 1/2, 6 3/4, and 5. Place all these fussy cut elements in C, and then all the little pieces in A. This is a scrap. Oh, this is from before. You can keep the dotties if you want and get rid of that little guy. And we do have a little bit more to trim off the edges here, so I'm going to do that. And then rotate it and just keep rotating through until your edges are as clean as my edges. And then we have our 12 by 12. So again, pause the video if you need to, so that you don't feel rushed. That's totally fine. And as I mentioned, you can slow this down in your playback speed area on YouTube, and then just, you know, I'll deliver everything much more slowly. Okay, we're going to place this in the trimmer so that these smaller pieces are on the right, and we'll cut at 8. Rotate, and we'll do 9, 6, and 3. All of these tall ones go in pocket C for those slimline cards. And then we have this last one, 9, 6, 3. Pocket B, bravo. We still have our handmade rice paper. Now what I want you to do is lengthwise, it tends to be perfect, but edgewise, maybe not so much. So I'm gonna place this in here and just line it up at the top and then just cut the end off so that I have a nice straight side. Then I'll rotate it and I'm gonna cut, well, let's see. Maybe we can do, yeah, I'm gonna cut at 10 and 4. Now rotate, and it's right now it's at 11. We're going to cut at 8 1/4, 5 1/2, 2 3/4. You can take these panels and place them in pocket A. And then the 6-inch piece, it's been folded, but it'll come to rights. We're going to trim this at 9 7/8. So that's halfway between the 9 3/4 and the 10. There's a medium-sized hash mark that makes it 9 7/8. Then 8 3/4. 7 5/8. That's halfway between 7 1/2 and 7 3/4. You'll find 7 5/8. And 6 1/2. I'm going to add one more piece of that size because the other one kind of tore a little bit. I'm going to cut at 5 3/8 just so I have an extra piece. This is all leftover. You can keep this and add more to it to your cards. It's really cool paper. Do with it as you wish. And these little 1 1/8 by 6-inch strips I'm going to put into pocket B. And I got this little scrap here. I'll get rid of that. And I think that's it for the trimming. Congratulations. Next up, I'm going to lock my trimmer blade, support my accordion pocket file when I remove it from the trimmer, and grab my Scor Pal. Okay, we have that stack of all the papers that we had set aside to be scored. Let's grab that smallest one right from the top, and I'm kind of going in reversing in through the directions. And step 2, it tells us that we need to score this horizontally at 4 1/4. So I find 4, 4 1/4, there's an asterisk there. I'm using my new Comfort Grip stylus tool. I'll put a link to this in the description as well as a link to the Scor Pal. If you don't have something like this, it's really nice. And the ball-shaped stylus, the large one, doesn't allow you to break the paper during the scoring process. You need quite a bit of pressure also for these heavier papers. Score again on the blue, and then if you dig down a little bit, you're going to find 2 more sheets just like it. One in the brown at 4 1/4, and then the gray at 4 1/4 as well. All 4 of these pieces are placed in pocket A. And then we have this tall, almost square. It's actually 8 by 8 1/2, and I want you to put it in your Scor Pal so it's vertical. In other words, the 8 should be here, the measurement, and 8 1/2 should be your reading down here. So we're scoring it vertically. And 2 lines here. The first one is 2 1/4. And if you need to make 2 passes on that heavier green paper, you can to have a nice score line. And then also score at 5 3/4. And I'm gonna make a second pass. All right, let's take the blue now and make sure you get the reading of 8 at the top. And your first number is 2 1/4. and 5 3/4. I like to hold my scoring tool like a pencil and have it angled rather than straight up and down. This is a little bit more reliable, all right? So again, on the brown, 2 1/4, 5 3/4, and then on the gray, making sure it's vertical at 8, over here, 2 1/4, 5 3/4. All of these cards go in pocket C, Charlie. Next up, we have this, let's see, what size is this? 4 1/4 by 9 1/2. Make sure it's in there horizontally and score at 2 and 7 1/2. Now with the blue, 2, 7 1/2. Dig down a little bit in your pile and you'll find a brown one. Score at 2, 7 1/2. Find the gray, score at 2, 7 1/2. All of this goes in pocket A, alpha. Now we are on this 6 1/4 by 9. And we're scoring horizontally so that the 9 is here, and we're going to score it right in half at 4 1/2. All the remaining pieces. I'm going to give that 2 passes. That's some really heavy paper. 4 1/2 on this one, making sure it's horizontal when you score. 4 1/2. And the last one, 4 1/2. All of this goes in pocket B. Bravo. Okay, I think we're about ready to make our cards. I'm just going to put my Scor Pal away. We'll begin by emptying everything from pocket A. And we can turn in our instructions also to page 3, and that shows you a picture of each finished card. This is such a cool structure. I think you're really going to love it. We can begin, like sometimes I do like to sort the pieces a little bit just so I can find what I'm looking for. Sentiments and printed panels. We got a lot going on here with this pocket of goodies. Okay, so I'm going to take my card bases and I'm going to do them in the order that they appear in the instructions. So we'll start out with this deep green, and then we're going to go to the gray, the brown, and the blue. Let me get this all in the screen here. Okay, each card will also get one of the larger scored pieces. Whoop. All right, let's put the brown with the green card, the green here. We're going to go blue and then gray. Each of these will receive a piece of the rice paper. I'll just put it sideways so we can deal with that later. Let's put our inner sentiments on these as well. We'll do the one that says, hoping today brings you calm. Same here, bring you calm. Wishing you fun, wishing you another year full of fun and adventure. And then each one gets the 2 each of these printed panels, 2 for each card. Now we have a little panel. We're going to go blue, brown, gray, and green, and then our outer sentiment. So it's going to be sometimes a quiet moment on these 2, and then always take the scenic route on the last 2. Now from the envelopes that you have that came in your kit, I'm going to take the 4th card and just slide everything down into the smallest size envelope. This is called an A2 envelope, invitation size. That's kind of a standard in the industry here. And then the 3rd and 2nd card as well. We're going to make this first one together, all right? The rest come together in the same exact way, so we don't need to, do them all, or we'd be here a lot longer than necessary. I'm going to start out by finding the bump of the score line on this card base, and I'll just fold on that and use my bone folder to make a nice crease. I was just checking to make sure the flaps are level. Then on this brown panel here, that's also scored, I'm going to bury the bump of the score line on the inside of the fold. And why don't I go ahead and add some adhesive to this, and I'm going to center the rice paper onto this card. We can also take the inner sentiment here I'll put some adhesive on the back of that and add it here. How cool. Okay, how about these two little pieces? I'll add adhesive to the text weight printed panels. And on my folded card base here, I can center them within the flap on the left and right side. There's two narrow flaps. They do not meet in the middle, and they're not supposed to. All right, I need some ribbon. Some ribbon came in this. And I'm going to make one of those little, let's see, where I just put a loop into the ribbon. I have to make sure that it's not any taller than this part of the card. So I'm just going to cut it here. Okay, so I have this nice little ribbon loop, and I'm going to take this smaller panel and lay the ribbon on top of the panel so it peeks out at the top and the tails peek out at the bottom. I keep tape in a handy little dispenser like this, so I'm just going to use some tape to secure this to the panel and make it easier to work with. Then I will add adhesive to this guy. To make this structure work properly, you really do need some sort of a foam adhesive, something to raise this up a little bit. I'm using 3 of our foam adhesive circles, and I just place them on the back of this panel, and I'll remove them, okay? And then I'm going to center this onto what ends up being the inner sentiment on the rice paper side. I'll just kind of eyeball the center here. Then I'll take my card base and just find the center. From the score line to the score line, the center would be at 2 3/4. I'm going to put adhesive on the back of this and rest this at 1.5 inches. That's the centered spot for this fun little interactive panel. So when you want to close the card, you just bend back a little and tuck the flap behind the raised greeting. It will even stand up on its own, which is super cool. And now you have this adorable card, fits right into your A2 envelope, and it has like that double sentiment. So when you are done with the other cards, this is the one we made together, you'll have all 4 of these fun little cards with the boop. I love it. I love it so much. And this is really easy, you know, just bend it back to secure it. It's very, very simple. So I hope you love this new structure. This is new to me, new to you. If you've been with me for a while, I've never done this one before in a formula. So I hope you like this one. I'm going to go ahead and set this aside and empty the contents of pocket B at this point. And we will go ahead and turn also to page 4 of our instructions where these cards are pictured. And you're also going to want to locate your 4 little leafy craft tags. All right, we'll take the green card base first again and put that up here. And then we'll put brown next to it. And then we'll have blue, then we'll add our gray and our blue. So it's green, brown, gray, blue. What should we add next? How about one of these larger panels? We're going to do gray here, green, blue, and brown. Each card will get a printed panel that nests. Each card will get one of the strips of the rice paper. And I know there's a bend in this, but once we have that adhered, it's not going to show anymore. There's also going to be a smaller printed panel on the inside of each card. So let's just throw that out there, plus the inner sentiment. Let's do that now. So that's the larger one that says, but the countless ways, but the countless ways, and may the year ahead, may the year ahead. Let's take our colored panel then, color not represented so far. So that's going to be blue here, gray here, brown, and green. Our outer sentiments, today we honor, wishing you a beautiful day, we'll do our leaf. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I used this little guy on the second card and this one on the third card. These come together so easily. You're gonna love it. I'm gonna grab the A6 envelope. This is the one it's the medium size one. That is not a slimline card. And I'll pop all of the goods for the fourth card. And I pack them up in this order so that it follows along with the pictures in the instructions. Again, we're going to do that card number 1 together. If you like to go to crops, a fun idea would be to go this far with your card assembly. And then when you hang out with your friends, you can talk and assemble. It's super fun. All right, taking the base of this card, I'm going to flip it so I can find the bump of the score line. Fold it in half. I always line up the edges nice and neat, and burnish with a bone folder. Next, I'll take the print here, the wider one, and add some adhesive and nest it with the gray. Then I'll flip that over, add adhesive, and add it to the left side of my card. The rice paper is going to fit right into this spot, and I do like to put the adhesive on the more firm paper rather than on this delicate rice paper. So I'm going to take my adhesive and just run it all the way down, and then I'm going to bring the paper to the adhesive, and that 1 1/8 size should fit perfectly within the remaining open spot. Isn't that nice? Then we have the sentiment that will fit on the mat. I'll adhere that to the upper right corner of the card. And now we have our cute little leaf tag. Now, if you happen to have some ink, this is our earth ink. It's a nice soft brown. Been using this for, I think, centuries now. And I'll just sponge some ink onto this tag to give it a nice warm look on the edges. That is completely optional. And now, if you want, you can take this jute. It's already folded in half, so it's like a double thickness. And I'm going to fold it in half and cut it. That gives me 2 double thicknesses, and if I fold these in half again and cut it, that gives me just what I need for all 4 of my cards without any leftover. All right, so I'm going to take this ribbon now, this double thickness, and I'm going to bring the ends together. They're not quite even, that's okay. And I'm going to tie them in a knot to make like a little loop, all right? So just tie a knot in the end so that all the ends are together. Okay. This is like a luggage tag. I'm going to do I think it's a lark's head knot. So I'm going to thread through from the front and then open up the loop and bring the end through. Next, I'm going to use some of these foam adhesive circles, and I like to cut them in half just so I can spread the love a little further. And I like that they have the little tabs. I'll put a link to these in the description in case you don't already have this. And I kind of like to have this going a little bit on the sentiment, a little bit on this area, and a little bit into the rice paper area. Okay, then you can decide how you want this little ribbon tail to sit. I put a little bit of a bookbinding glue down so that the tail kind of would meander. I like it. Ideally, you would do that last because I still have this to put on the inside, so just be real careful. I have a sentiment and I have some printed paper here, so I will put adhesive on both. And then this is going to situate, like I put it right on the right edge. You can put it wherever you want. I liked that. Kind of brightens it up a little. And ta-da. Isn't that a sweet card? So we made the green one together, and then you'll make one in this lovely gray color. And I just cut an end off of this and put the little piece right down there in the bottom. And this one, it just is plain and simple. And I use the other banner here. There you have it, the set B cards. So fun. And I'm going to set this one aside with my ribbon and all my other parts and pieces and empty pocket C. Pocket D still has all those scraps in it, and if you have different techniques you like to do with scraps, just hang on to them for that. Otherwise, get rid of them, okay? We do have some neat ideas for using your scraps on the Club Scrap blog. I will put a link to that in the description below. So if you want to check out the blog for ideas on scraps, we have a lot of them out there. And I'm just kind of sorting things out a little bit for our fun that we're about to have here. Lots of little panels and prints. We got our little sentiments and so on. So with our card bases, I will turn to page 5 of the instructions. We're going to put our gray card out, the brown card out first, then gray, then blue and green. Let's get these to where you can see them. Okay, looking good. Let's go with the inner sentiments first. We're going to put "You're never far from my thoughts or my heart" on these 2 cards. And then "May the memories you hold bring comfort during this sad time." That'll be on the right side. How about some strips? All right, every card gets 2 printed strips. That's easy. Let's get those out of our hands. 2 printed strips per card. And then we're going to distribute some color here. How about blue and gray, brown and green, gray and green, blue and brown. Ha! Sweet. Then we have some colored mats. We're going to put the green here, so kind of like the missing color, right? Blue is missing from here, brown and gray. Even in the stillness, these 2. And then with heartfelt sympathy, these 2. The bottom 2 cards can get the fussy cut elements, and the top 2 cards will receive 2 of the embroidered leaves each. Now you should have some slimline envelopes left. I'm going to open this up and just slide this in like this, okay? That's card 4. I'll slide this in. That's card 3. Let's slide this card 2, and guess what? We are going to make card 1 together because all the rest are the same. I love it. Okay, here we go. Card number 1 on set C. We're going to flip it over so we can find the bumps of our score lines. And I will fold and burnish. And these folds overlap. That's by design. An overlapping slimline card. So lovely. Okay, easy so far, right? I'm going to take these printed panels and I'll add some adhesive to these. And we'll nest this here onto the gray. I have a hard time calling it gray. It feels like a light green to me. And then we have the blue. Nice. Okay, so one of these flaps will be on the front and the other will be behind, but for now it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna, while we're here, just add adhesive to the back of the inner sentiment and add it to the card. Now I have to remember which way is up, okay? Let's put the blue, I'll put adhesive on both of these. It's so nice and easy. Okay, so the blue I put on the left front flap, and the gray I put on the right flap. All right, now I'm going to just do one last little nesting thing. We'll grab the sentiment and nest it onto the green. Okay, but my ribbon trick, this is so super easy. So I'm going to take this ribbon. This is the taupe colored satin, double-faced satin. I'll bend it in half and then cut toward the fold to make the cute little swallow's tail. And then I'm kind of just going to eyeball. I just want it to go about that far. I'll cut it again so I have the nice swallow's tail. Check your grain direction. I'm going to add it in the way that it wants to lay, because one way will look nice and the other will be like, I don't want to go that way. And we're just going to keep it straight, right? But I'm going to just take some of my adhesive and run a strip down about the same length as the ribbon and lay the ribbon on top of the adhesive. I went a little high with it. Oh, well, that's okay. All right, now flip this over. I don't want to go past the flap of the card with my adhesive, so just flipping it over, making sure the correct side is facing the right direction. I can add my sentiment here. Yeah, perfect. Last but not least, there's a side of this that the stitching is on and the side that the organza is on. So I try to put the adhesive. It's pretty hard to tell. I mean, these are really nice quality embroidered leaf appliques. I'm going to put the first one kind of here. And then I'll add adhesive to this one as well. I like to add it to the organza side if I can. Okay. So pretty. So simple, elegant. Even in the stillness, you are not alone. You're never far from my thoughts or my heart. That could be for anything, right? Very, very sweet. Okay, so that is the the third card style. And then so we did the one in the brown base, and then you have another sympathy then with the embroidered leaves. And then here on the other ones, I used the fussy cut elements. So if you don't really want to fussy cut anything, you don't have to. Oh, this is where I used that other banner. Yeah, I think I used half the banner on the other cards and then the whole banner here. That looks pretty good, doesn't it? I'll have to update my instructions, because here we are. The very, very end is when I find that I used the banner there. So the other banner I cut in half and added it, and here I used the whole banner on this sympathy card. But I think that's just so beautiful. So I had one of them like sitting on top, and then on the other panel here I had them tucked under, piece here, two pieces there, and then this one just kind of hanging out. Lovely, right? So I hope you liked these Northwoods cards. I think they are going to be gone from my stash in a snap. I always make two sets because one of them goes out on display and the other I make when I'm filming. So this one set that's done goes on tour, and then the one set that I just worked on right now, I will finish. Those are the ones that I send almost immediately, and I send out a lot of cards. So I have a whole method that I use for sending out cards. I print out my calendar page for the month. I highlight all the special occasions I want to acknowledge, and then I just line them up and I stack them all up. So everything has the mail by date on a sticky note, and it's all addressed, stamped, everything is good to go. So I hope you have a good routine in place for spreading all that love from your card stash. I get feedback all the time from people that I send them the only card they can hold in their hand. Can you imagine? What a great ministry. What a great blessing to the people that you love to give them a handmade card that you've made with love. Especially these Northwoods cards. They're so pretty. So, speaking of love, leave me a little love in the comments section, or just give me a like. I always love to hear from you. I like to hear how it's going. And if you're not subscribed to our channel, it's easy and it's free. Just hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any other fun workshops we're coming out with. And last but not least, if you're not subscribed to Club Scrap, I hope you'll give that a try as well. Our members always save on our kits, and there's no time obligation. So if we're not keeping you happy, we understand. It's not difficult to cancel. We're not like a gym membership or something. So come and give us a try as a member. We'd love to have you check it out and become a member of the Club Scrap family. We all do gather together at Facebook. We have a private Club Scrap chat group, so come and meet us there. Once again, I'll put the link to that group in the description below. Thanks again for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.